and she would go through and collect the plant samples of things she wanted to record. So we had the first recorded photographs of different plants that people could use to identify them later on, which was really, really cool. And I had to look up what a photogram was because it's different than a regular photograph. These are all blue because what she does was they put it onto photographic paper, the actual plant itself, and then they expose a bright light under it, and it creates like a negative image like this. So that's the way she created all of these, and that was really, really cool. But some people, like Lydia, I don't know if you guys saw this, but her art is amazing. It's really, really cool. Yes, it is. It's super cool. Do you mind if I show them?
Go ahead.
Sick. Okay. So Lydia has this really lovely picture, and this one is, I would argue, something called Impressionism, which is entirely different. And some artists decided to, instead of being afraid of the new photography, to change the way they painted so that they could still make it different and people would still buy it. So this is Claude Monet, and he did a really amazing art. Impressionism was his big thing. So if you look at these, they purposely look kind of choppy and different. And if you look at them up close, they look like a bunch of paints just thrown on a paper. But if you step back and look at them, they're just these beautiful works of art capturing all the colors and feelings that came to be with these photos. This was actually a self-portrait he did by himself as well. So some artists kind of jumped up at the challenge. So instead of cowering away and giving up, they created new ways to keep it being used through their lifetime. So I thought that was really cool. Oh.
All right. So I'm doing literature, and in this time, we saw a major swing in a different group of literature. So before our time, you saw a lot of literature based on religion and stuff like that, and not so much on ideals and new thought. And in our time period, you saw a lot more romantics and transcendentalists. The romantics were all about emotion and adventure and just new experiences in life. And this is Edgar Allan Poe, or me. And he was considered a romantic, a very dark romantic, but a romantic at that. He had a lot of poems that just had death and love stories and death. In the Transcendentalism, they were all about adventure as well, but they were kind of doing it with a new thought. So they were trying to do with self-thought and what everyone individually thought of what the environment was and what they portrayed as the environment. So those are the two major things with the literature in our time period. And we're going to go ahead and pass out a little play. Do you need me to?
I think you could just talk.
Okay. So we're just going to pass out a little short story that Edgar Allan Poe did, and we're going to do this kind of in a popcorn style just so that everyone gets a chance to read. So after a paragraph or so, just popcorn someone. We've all done it before.
Keeping in mind, if nobody reads, we're just going to start calling names.
Yeah.
Does everybody have one? I have some extras. All set? Okay.
What's the first word?
Yeah, if you don't know a word, just try and bear with us. It's kind of older speak and kind of difficult to read sometimes, but it'll get the main point.
And there's a few words that somehow got smushed together. So the first one's the chateau into. It's not some other
the chateau into.
Just a heads up.
Into which my veil Thad.
Yeah.
Veil Thad.
Oh yeah, I don't know what happened.
My valet had returned.
Turid.
Right.
All right, so I'll start it off. The chateau into which my veil Thad ventured to make forcible entrance rather than permit me, in my desperately wounded condition, to pass a night in the open air. One was those piles of mingled gloom and grandeur which have so long frowned among the Apennines, one, not less in fact than the fancy of Mrs. Radcliffe. Popcorn.